I want to do, I know you didn't come for that, you came for the good stuff. Yes, the stuff where I actually go in to the factory. What have we got here? What are we making here? Oh, come on. Hoverboards, we all love them. The US government loves them. They banned them last year. Until middle of last year, they came up with a UL standard that allowed selective importing into the US by UL qualified manufacturers. The one at the top, DBK, Dr. Boy King, was the first to get the UL standard. And you can see by their factory, they really are high quality compared to this workshop here. Wow, this workshop here, I visited them after the ban came in place. They were making 600 hoverboards that day for a French client. Do they care about the US ban? No. They're selling to the Middle East, other parts of Europe, into South Asia. It doesn't matter, okay? Not all suppliers are selling to USA. This one is still going strong. Okay, so what's the difference between the two? The big difference is in receiving inspection. And so when you're sourcing a product, even if it's a backpack, I know you're in homeware around here, it's not electronics, this is electronic examples, but even in your backpack, you may find a particular lug or a particular fitting that is your risk area. Then you need to be very clear about the receiving inspection of that material that's coming from a particular supplier that you have in contract you want it to come from. So you've got to find out, not every part of your product may be at risk in terms of the quality. You've got to find the areas that are at risk and make sure receiving inspection. Here, they've got the batteries coming in, and it's got Samsung written on the outside. I don't know if it's Samsung. You don't know either, okay? Whereas here, they're testing every battery of those 20 cells that go into the 4.4 amp hour battery that goes into the hoverboard. That's the difference between factories. The receiving inspection. A lot of the cheaper factories do not have a receiving inspection. No factory owner I have spoken to has told me that they find value in receiving inspection. Okay, so you need to work out whatever product you are sourcing, is there a component in that product that is critical? If there is, then you need to make sure that there's receiving inspection on that component. Okay, let's keep going. Let's go. What else do you need to look for? Outsourcing OEM. This happens all the time. The factories say, we're the factory. Yeah, maybe they start off being the factory, but then they end up outsourcing to someone else. You can have that conversation with the factory. Look, Mr. Factory, I know you've got lots of volume going on, you're getting lots of orders, and we do outsource in China, that's fine. Can I have, in the written agreement, access to the factory you're going to outsource to for the purpose of inspection, for the purpose of auditing, for any compliance standard that is relevant to the product that you are sourcing. And so here we have a factory at the top, smartwatch factory, both of them you could source from today. I was actually talking to, in the booth, 3 hours ago of this factory. But let me tell you that I'll tell you something about this factory in a minute, but which factory would you source from? They're both making the identical smartwatches. Hands up for the top factory. Hands up for the bottom. No? Okay, the bottom one has lots of documentation here. The top one, beautiful uniforms, all dressed up. Okay, that top factory is gone. It's gone. Closed down. Oh, they're still selling smartwatches, but now they're outsourcing to another factory. And Best Stop is the name. You can see them over in Hall 6 after this talk. Go talk to them. Say, oh, I heard your factory closed down. Yeah, they'll tell you that. We opened up another factory. Yeah, this happens. All right, looks good, gone. All right, the ladies here, they're touching the watches with fingers. Fingers have moisture. Moisture gets on that product. It does funny things. It attracts dust. It causes other malfunctions, especially if it's in electronics. Okay, here, how come this factory is still existent? How come this factory seems, the workers have minimal uniform, but documentation seems to be in order? The big difference, this factory used to be an OEM supplier for a major Japanese brand. What happens if you're supplying to the Japanese? They actually send people over to monitor you every day. They come over, they teach you, and they watch you, and they do not let go until you get it right. The Japanese are very fastidious about monitoring. So this factory learned from the Japanese to get everything right. It's still existing. So look out for a factory that has experience with a major, maybe German, USA or Japanese customer. Then you know, hey, maybe they learned something from that customer. That's a good sign, a signal that anyone can look for. You don't need a degree in engineering to work that out. Okay, I don't have a degree in engineering either, so I'm on your side. All right, here's another thing you can look for in a factory, separation. Wait a minute, let's get this, oh, it's working, okay. What do I mean by separation? In electronics, it's very important that things are separated at every point of the production. Components are separated, assembly is separated. Nothing, no one component touches the other. Okay, everything needs to be separated, and they normally use foam boards. Here, it's all stacked on top of each other. I love the separation here. You've just got foam in between, but let's just stack them all together on top of each foam layer. Okay, so would you buy from the factory at the top? Yes, I would. That factory is still okay. It should be a signal, oh, this factory, there's a higher risk that something might go wrong, so let's do more inspection. You just dial up the inspection. You don't just want to go to a perfect factory. They'll price you out. You'll make no money. You'll make no profit from this factory. Oh, by the way, this factory was an audit I did for a client that I'm going to show you later. And in the end, they kept on putting the price up, and the client came back to me and said, I can't make any more money. I got a perfect product, but I can't make any money. All right? So be careful. Don't always look for the perfect factory. All right? Look for a less than perfect, but supplement that with good inspection. Okay? Dial up the inspection. Do more than what the statistical chart would say that needs to be inspected. Okay. What else can you do? What else can you do when you're in the factory? I mean, you don't need an engineering background to do the following. That is, there's a problem with this assembly line, car audio. How do I know there's a problem? There's a QC chart. There are the failures for this particular problem here. What is that problem there? Remember, all factories, anyone you're going to source from, should have a QC chart like this. Go to this QC chart, find the problem. The micro SD card is not slotting in properly, or when it slots in, it's not touching all the contact points correctly, so it's not working. All right, so what do you do? Well, we do a cause-effect analysis. Okay, I ask the owner, take me to the operator that's doing the screwing. Let's go to the operator. Here he is here. He's doing the screwing here. You can do that. You don't need an engineering background to do this. Look, he's doing the screwing. There's no cradle to hold that to actually reduce the variation of that process. Fine, okay. Where else? What about the soldering? Let's go to the solderer. We've got to go around the other way of the assembly line. Let's have a look at the soldering. Here he is. I couldn't even do this. Just sit like that, cross legs, soldering. Look, moving as he's soldering. That causes variation, likely to cause defects. So I asked the supplier, put a cradle here. That doesn't move. Make everything here more stable, so you get less variation in that output of that process. You want to minimize variation at all points of assembly. So any one of you can do this. You don't need a background in engineering to just ask the owner, ask the factory, oh, I see the defects here. Oh, tell me where you think the defects are coming from. Is it receiving inspection, or is it assembly A, assembly B? Oh, show me. Let's go and have a look. Okay? Now, if there's any supplier that's not interested in your interest in looking at the causes, maybe you shouldn't source from them, because they're not going to be sustainable in the long run. In order to be sustainable, suppliers should be looking at these causes and making corrections over time. Okay. Great stuff. So what do you look out for in your factory? Receiving inspection, documentation, attention to detail, rejects. Always think about the mind of the supplier. Are they tuned in to making a good product? Okay? Or is their factory there just to make money so they can buy property? All right? Just get that vibe when you visit the factory, because you want to work with a factory that's going to be around for your second order, third order, fourth order. That's your aim.